Is the thylacine alive and hidden? The truth about the Tasmanian tiger. In today's video, we'll be putting on our tinfoil hats and speculating about something that's been plaguing a lot of people's minds. Is the thylacine actually alive and just hidden? We'll be discussing both arguments in favor and against this possibility, so make sure to watch till the end to find out what we think on the matter. Without further ado, let's begin with a little background on what the thylacine is. History. The thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger or Tasmanian wolf, was a carnivorous marsupial native to Australia, Tasmania, and New Guinea. It inhabited various habitats, including grasslands, forests, and wetlands. It was, or still is, the largest known carnivorous marsupial to have existed in modern times. The first documented encounter with a thylacine by a European was made by a French naturalist and zoologist, Henri-Marie Ducretet de Blainville, in 1808. He received a detailed description and a drawing of the animal that resembled a tiger cub from the captain of a French ship that had visited Australia. Based on this information, de Blainville classified the thylacine under the scientific name Thylacine cynocephalus in 1816. The name thylacine is derived from the Greek words thylakos, meaning pouch or sack, and kion, meaning dog. So this would mean that the scientific name Thylacine cynocephalus roughly translates to dog-headed pouched one. We'll get into why they're called that pretty soon. Physical appearance. The Tasmanian tiger actually had a pretty unique physical appearance that combined features of both dogs and marsupials. As a medium to large carnivorous marsupial, adult thylacines measured about 130 centimeters, 51 inches in length from head to tail, with an additional 65 centimeters, 26 inches for the tail. They stood at about 60 centimeters, 24 inches in height at the shoulder, and in terms of weight, they could reach up to 30 kilograms, 66 pounds, with males being larger and heavier than females. The thylacine's coat color was sandy to yellow-brown, with variations from light fawn to dark brown and a cream-colored belly. One of its most distinguishing features was the presence of 15 to 20 dark stripes across its back, rump, and the base of its tail, earning it the nickname Tasmanian Tiger due to its resemblance to tiger stripes. The thylacine's tail was another notable feature, being stiff and smoothly extending from the body, similar to a kangaroo's tail, and tapering towards the tip. What's more is that the skull of the thylacine resembled that of canids, particularly the red fox, which was an example of convergent evolution. The thylacine's jaws also had an impressive ability to open up to 80 degrees, giving it a wide gape. Unlike most marsupials, which have a pouch that opens towards the front of their bodies, the thylacine's pouch opens towards the rear. Female thylacines had a well-developed pouch located on their belly, which contained 4 teats. The pouch served as a protective enclosure for their developing youngs called joeys. The newborn joeys would crawl into the mother's pouch and attach themselves to one of the teats. Inside the pouch, they would continue their development, growing and maturing further. As the joeys grew, they would spend more time outside the pouch, venturing out and eventually riding on their mother's back while she moved around. Role. The thylacine played an extremely important role in Tasmania as a top predator. As a carnivorous marsupial, it served as not only an apex predator, but also a keystone species. What is a keystone species, you might be asking? Well, a keystone species is an organism that has a disproportionately large impact on its environment relative to its abundance or biomass. Its presence or absence can significantly affect the entire ecosystem structure and functioning. So, as a top predator, the thylacine had a regulatory effect on the populations of its prey species. By preying on smaller herbivores, it helped control their numbers, preventing overgrazing and overpopulation of certain plant species. This indirect influence on vegetation had cascading effects on other animals and even the landscape itself. With its relatively large home range, the thylacine likely played a role in keeping other predators in check. Its presence could have limited the expansion of other carnivores that competed for similar resources, helping to balance predator-prey relationships and overall biodiversity. We could go on and on about how important this marsupial was to Tasmania. Extinction. Before we get into whether the Tasmanian tiger is still alive and hidden, let's talk a little about what ended these keystone species. The thylacine's journey toward extinction in mainland Australia was actually a complex process influenced by several factors, with the introduction of dingoes being a significant contributing factor. Dingoes, which are wild dogs native to Southeast Asia, arrived in Australia around 4,000 to 5,000 years ago, most likely brought by human settlers. As these wild canids established themselves on the continent, they directly competed with the thylacine for resources, including food and territory. Also, starting in the 19th century, conflicts between farmers and thylacine in Australia grew. They were perceived as a threat to livestock, particularly sheep and poultry, and this perception led to increased hostility towards the species. In response to this perceived threat, various measures were introduced to control thylacine populations. Bounty hunting was one such measure, where government authorities offered rewards or bounties for the killing of thylacines. These bounties were often paid per thylacine killed, and the incentive led to intensified hunting efforts. As a result, thylacine populations declined rapidly. The bounty hunting campaigns were so effective that by the late 1800s and early 1900s, thylacines had become rare in many parts of mainland Australia. This culminated in the eventual extinction of the species with the death of the last thylacine in 1936 in the Hobart Zoo. Or did it? Is the thylacine still alive? To answer the question of whether the thylacine is still alive and hidden, we need to know a little more about its surroundings. Tasmania itself is known for its rugged and extensive wilderness areas, encompassing dense forests, mountain ranges, and remote coastal regions. Large tracts of unexplored and inaccessible terrain offer ample hiding places and refuge for a secretive creature like the thylacine. Compared to mainland Australia, Tasmania also has a lower population density and relatively fewer human activities in some regions, reducing the chances of direct human interactions and encounters, and making it easier for elusive animals to remain concealed. Also, thylacines were primarily nocturnal, meaning they were most active during the nighttime. This behavioral trait allows them to avoid human encounters, as most people are less likely to be present or active during the nighttime in remote areas. Additionally, thylacines were solitary animals, preferring to live and hunt alone. This, coupled with the fact that between 2016 and 2019, the Department of Primary Industries, Parks, Water and Environment, DPIPWE, received 8 unconfirmed thylacine sighting reports. The most recent of which was an unconfirmed visual sighting that was reported on 25th of February 2018. However, this isn't concrete proof of the continued existence of the Tasmanian tiger. If anything, there is more proof that the species has gone extinct. Between 1967 and 1973, zoologist Jeremy Griffith and dairy farmer James Malley embarked on what is considered the most intensive search for thylacines ever conducted. Their dedication to uncovering the truth behind the existence of the elusive Tasmanian tiger led them to explore the remote and rugged terrains of Tasmania's west coast, where thylacine sightings had been reported in the past. Their search efforts were meticulous and comprehensive, leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of evidence. Griffith and Malley employed various techniques to maximize their chances of finding the marsupial. They installed automatic camera stations in strategic locations, hoping to capture images of the elusive creature if it crossed their path. The research team scoured the wilderness, endured harsh conditions, and devoted countless hours to the cause, but the thylacine remained as elusive as ever. Some say that these claimed sightings were fueled by the government offering cash prizes for any evidence of the thylacine's existence. In the end, who's to say that the Tasmanian tiger isn't alive and hidden out in the wilds of Tasmania? Stranger things have definitely happened, and the re-emergence of extinct species has been seen before. What do you think? Could the thylacine be alive somewhere in Tasmania? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you learned something new, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on more videos like this.